I never imagined I'd be forced to guard my own groceries from another adult. But there I was, standing on my porch, clutching for bags of food I'd just bought when she appeared. Linda Markham, the self-proclaimed matriarch of our neighborhood association, came striding up the walkway with a glare fixed on my shopping bags like a hawk eyeing its meal. "Those are far too many groceries for someone living alone," she declared, her voice sharp and accusing, already reaching toward the handles of my reusable bags. "My kids need supplies more than you do. This is pure greed." I tightened my grip and took a step back. "Excuse me, these are mine. I paid for them, and you're not taking them." Linda's expression twisted with outrage as she actually tugged at one of the bags. "You don't need all this. I've got 3 mouths to feed, and you're hoarding during a shortage." We were suddenly locked in the most ridiculous tug-of-war I'd ever experienced until Mrs. Banerjee, my neighbor from across the street, stepped out onto her porch holding up her phone. "I'm filming this," she called. "Want me to ring the police?" Linda froze, released the bag, and jabbed a finger toward me. "You'll regret this. I'll report you myself. Hoarding's against the neighborhood code. We'll see who's in charge here." She spun around, yanking out her phone and pretending to dial as she marched off. Little did I realize that absurd encounter was just the start of my Linda nightmare. I'd moved into Maple Ridge Estates barely 8 months earlier, drawn by the pristine lawns and quiet streets. The peaceful suburban calm had been what sold me on the neighborhood. Sure, there was a homeowner's board, but I assumed that meant tidy lawns and a community pool, nothing more. I'm a software engineer who works mostly from home and generally keeps to myself, the ideal, quiet, considerate neighbor. For the first few months, everything ran smoothly. I only attended one neighborhood association meeting where I first met Linda Markham, the president. She wore a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes as she interrogated me about my job, whether I planned to settle down soon, and if I was aware of the standards of excellence Maple Ridge Estates prided itself. I should have caught the warning signs then, but I simply nodded, smiled, and went back to my peaceful routine. That balance lasted until about 3 weeks ago, when a severe storm tore through the area, knocking out power and interrupting supply chains. Suddenly, grocery stores were rationing stock and deliveries became unreliable. That's when Linda began paying far too much attention to my shopping habits. Working from home meant I could slip out quickly when I got notifications that the nearby stores had restocked. Being single with flexible hours gave me an advantage, but I never bought more than I needed. Linda, however, decided my perfectly normal grocery runs were a personal insult to her family. She began hovering near my driveway on delivery days, pretending to water her plants while keeping an eye on me. One afternoon, I caught her leaning over my recycling bin, clearly counting how many cereal boxes I'd gone through. "Must be nice to dine like royalty during a shortage," she said with a smug smile when she noticed me watching. "Some of us have children to think about, you know." I just offered a polite nod and went back inside. But from that point on, her remarks became constant, each one sharper than the last. Every time she saw me bringing in groceries, the comments followed. "Another banquet for the bachelor," or "stockpiling again while the rest of us scrape by." I tried tuning her out, hoping she'd eventually find someone else to fixate on. But then came the text message. Somehow, Linda had pulled my phone number from the neighborhood directory and sent me a long, guilt-laden paragraph about how families in need were struggling while single residents selfishly hoarded supplies. She urged me to make a community-minded donation to help families like hers, priority residents, as she called them. I replied politely, explaining that I only purchased what I needed, and suggested she reach out to local food banks if her household required help. That's when she dropped the polite act. Her response was a blistering message accusing me of being unneighborly, warning that the association board would be reviewing problematic residents at their next meeting. That was the moment I started keeping records, saving screenshots, writing notes after every encounter. My gut told me this wasn't going to fade quietly. The tension boiled over last Tuesday. After nearly a week of empty shelves and chaotic restocks, I finally managed to pick up a modest load. Just basics: eggs, bread, milk, chicken, some fruit and vegetables. I was unloading the last bags from my trunk when Linda appeared at the end of my driveway, arms folded, eyes sharp as glass. "So, hoarding again, are we?" she sneered, stepping closer. "While the rest of us can't even get milk for our kids." I exhaled slowly. "Linda, these are ordinary groceries. I'm not hoarding anything." She followed me up the porch steps. "You live alone. You don't need that much. My kids haven't had fresh fruit in days. As association president and a mother, I get community priority." "I understand things are tight," I said evenly, "but these are my purchases. I'm happy to share info about restock schedules if information doesn't feed my children," she snapped, her voice rising. "You're selfish, and you're breaking the community spirit clause of our rules." I was almost certain no such clause existed. Before I could reply, she lunged forward and grabbed 2 of my grocery bags. "I'm taking these," she said. "File a complaint if you want. The board will back me up." "Linda, release my groceries right now," I said, keeping my tone calm but firm. "That's theft." "It's redistribution," she barked, yanking harder. "You don't need this much food. I have a family." I noticed several neighbors had stepped outside, drawn by the commotion. Mr. Harris from next door was already holding up his phone, recording the surreal tug-of-war happening on my porch. Linda noticed, too, and instead of backing off, she doubled down. "Everyone here can see what's going on," she shouted, still clutching the grocery bags. "He's stockpiling food while families go hungry. He lives alone and hoards supplies while the rest of us struggle." Mrs. Banner stepped closer, voice steady. "Linda, I've been filming since you grabbed his groceries. Let go right now or we're calling the police." "Go ahead," Linda shot back, her grip tightening. "I'll tell them he's breaking emergency guidelines by hoarding. I'm the association president. I know the rules." I carefully set down the bag still in my arms and pulled out my phone. "I'm calling 911 now. Linda, this is your final chance to release my property and leave." Her eyes went wide, but her hands stayed firm. "You wouldn't dare. Everyone knows I'm just trying to feed my family." I dialed and put the call on speaker when the dispatcher answered. I calmly explained that someone was attempting to take my groceries by force and refusing to leave my property. "This is absurd," Linda sputtered, finally dropping the bags. "He's setting me up. He's the one violating community regulations." While I was speaking with the dispatcher, Mr. Harris approached, holding his phone toward me. "You might want to see this," he said. On the screen was footage from his doorbell camera recorded earlier that afternoon, clearly showing Linda trying to open my car trunk while I was still returning the shopping cart. She was about to take bags straight from your car before you came out, he explained. Got the whole thing on camera. Linda's face turned chalk white. I was only checking to see if he needed help, she stammered. Neighborhood watch duties. It's part of my role as president. Moments later, 2 police cruisers pulled up. The officers separated us and began taking statements. Linda immediately launched into a speech about community welfare and how single residents were depriving families of resources. So, you admit you tried to take his groceries? One officer asked evenly. I was reallocating them to those in greater need, Linda insisted. It was for the greater good. He doesn't need that much food for himself. The officer's expression didn't change. Ma'am, he said, that's not how the law works. You can't take someone else's property without permission. Permission or not, that doesn't make it legal, the officer said firmly. But I'm the homeowner's president, Linda protested, as if the title granted her immunity. Association leaders don't have the right to seize residents' personal belongings, the officer replied evenly. And according to this video, you also attempted to access his vehicle earlier today. I was just checking. Linda's voice climbed into a shrill, defensive pitch. This isn't fair. I have children to feed. The 2 officers exchanged a look, then one turned back to her. Ma'am, based on the footage and witness statements, we're placing you under arrest for attempted theft and harassment. Linda's mouth fell open as the officer reached for his handcuffs. You can't be serious. I'm a respected neighborhood leader. I was doing this for my family. You have the right to remain silent, the officer began, reading her rights while the rest of the street watched in stunned quiet. As they led Linda to the patrol car, she kept shouting about community standards and resource redistribution. The disbelief on her face when she realized that her position didn't place her above the law is something I'll never forget. 3 days later, I received notice that Linda was being charged with attempted theft, harassment, and attempted unlawful entry. The judge set her bail at $5,000 and issued a restraining order prohibiting her from coming near my home. The homeowners board held an emergency meeting and voted to suspend her as president until her seat